Aaron Carter went from being a promising young musician to a broken man with a destroyed life, and there's no one we can blame more for his death than his own parents. Aaron Carter was born in Florida in 1987, where his parents moved there after their bar in New York failed, so they moved to Florida to run a retirement home. And they had 5 kids, but despite the parents having no background in the entertainment industry, they worked to get all 5 of their children into music and acting. While they were putting all their kids into training to do singing, they had a big break in 1989 where their son Nick Carter was offered a chance to be on the Mickey Mouse Club and offered a $50,000 contract to do the show for the year. During that process, Nick Carter met A.J. McClain and also Kevin Richardson, who were much older than him, and they were working as tour guides at Disney. And after they met, they offered Nick Carter the chance to turn down Disney and doing the Mickey Mouse Club to instead work with them on forming the Backstreet Boys, which they did, and eventually they launched in 1993 as a boy band. It took a few years to take off, but in 1996 they had success with their album, which was just called the Backstreet Boys, and since that point they've been able to sell 130 million albums. But there was an issue Nick Carter ran into because he was only 16 years old when the Backstreet Boys began to take off, so his parents still had control of his finances. Because that when Nick Carter turned 18, he actually distanced himself from his parents, not giving them any control over his finance or any involvement with the Backstreet Boys or his personal brand. But that sadly wasn't the fate for his little brother Aaron Carter, where when he was 7 years old his parents started having him performing. When he was 9 years old he began opening for Backstreet Boys concerts. Which was a bizarre debut because when Aaron Carter first appeared it wasn't in the United States but instead at a Backstreet Boys concert in Germany. And the reason for that was actually because of the parents, where Nick Carter wasn't allowed to leave the United States without parental permission, so the only way his parents agreed to do it was if they let Aaron Carter perform to try and boost his career. And it did end up working, where Aaron Carter gained fame because of the Backstreet Boys, where in 2000 he released his first album at the age of 13 and it sold 3 million copies. But sadly things worked out very differently for Aaron Carter with his parents versus how they treated Nick Carter, where Aaron Carter wasn't allowed to control any of his own finances and his parents acted as managers running his career. Going as far that the parents actually made strict rules on Aaron Carter that he wasn't allowed to know how much money his albums were making or how much his concerts were making because they thought it would spoil him. But that was all just a giant lie from Aaron Carter's parents so they can keep him out of the dark of his financials, where he made $25 million as a teenager and they spent every single cent of it. Which, to be clear, there is a law in place called the Coogan Act, which requires all child actors to have 15% of their earnings saved for them for the time they turn 18. And it was named after Jackie Coogan, who made $60 million in today's money in the 1920s doing Charlie Chaplin movies. He ended up completely broke when he was 18 because his stepdad spent all of the money, so he ended up spending his adult life broke and miserable playing Uncle Fester on the Addams Family. Before Aaron Carter turned 18, he was telling everybody that he was expecting a minimum of $10 million to be saved for him by the Coogan Act and other investments his parents made for him. Instead, he was informed that his parents actually broke the law, never setting up a Coogan account for him, and they spent every single cent he made. To make things an entirely new level of bad, Aaron Carter's parents never actually paid any taxes on the money he made, so when he turned 18, he actually found out he was $3.5 million in debt to the IRS. When Aaron Carter learned about this at age 18, he actually revealed he went through a full-blown mental breakdown because he thought he was going to go to jail because some lawyers said he was at risk for that, or he'd have to pay back the taxes with interest, meaning he'd owe about $9 million. But then the court ended up giving him some mercy, where they allowed him to file for bankruptcy, saying that it was not his fault at all, but he did end up having to go bankrupt when he was just 19. And then right after that, Aaron Carter's parents ended up filing for divorce, and there were financial disclosures in the divorce revealing neither of the parents had any money, so they literally wasted every cent their son made. And just to get an idea for Aaron Carter's mom's personality, she was actually arrested not long after the divorce because she was beating up her husband's new girlfriend. Then where things got worse for Aaron Carter was he ended up in a lawsuit with his former manager Lou Pearlman, who was stealing money from the royalties on his songs. Then Aaron Carter got sued by his former record label Transcontinental, saying he didn't fulfill his promise to do a new record for them, but the court threw it out because he signed that agreement when he was a teenager and not an adult. Aaron Carter tried to make more money in his 20s. He didn't have any success with nobody buying his new music, where he was told he was basically the equivalent of a child actor who couldn't make it as an adult. In 2012, Aaron Carter's mental state began to decline when his older sister Leslie passed away from an overdose. After the sister's death, Aaron Carter tried to make amends with his parents, doing multiple TV appearances with his mom to say he forgave them for the financial mistreatment. And in 2016, Aaron Carter's mental state got much worse when his father suddenly passed away from heart disease, which the family wasn't expecting. And in 2019, the relationship between Nick and Aaron Carter ended because Nick Carter got a restraining order on Aaron because he threatened to kill his pregnant wife. And at that point, Aaron Carter's mom and the rest of the family completely abandoned him, with the only one left in his corner being his twin sister, who began publicly advocating for him to get more mental help because he had personality disorders. But still, no help came for Aaron Carter, who was completely broke, so he wrote a memoir making a bunch of claims which were proven false, with one example being him claiming that he took Hilary Duff's virginity when she was 13 years old. Which led to Hilary Duff calling out Aaron Carter publicly, cutting all ties with him, saying she loved him when she was younger but now had no relationship with him. And Aaron Carter also made the claim in the book that he was molested by his older sister Leslie, who passed away a decade earlier, but the problem with that claim was no one in the family supported it and said Aaron was just doing it to sell books. In Aaron Carter's final few months alive, he was flaunting his body on OnlyFans to try and make money, offering to sing for people in his underwear and do other acts for cash. Then finally in 2022, Aaron Carter passed away due to drowning, which was caused by substance abuse. When Aaron Carter died, the rights to his music were still valued at $810,000, but he owed so much money that he was still $240,000 in debt with his estate. And then what was left of Aaron Carter's estate from things like his likeness and also his music rights was left to his son Prince, and that stuff could grow in value over time. For Aaron Carter's mom, she just keeps on getting worse, where she has no relationship with Aaron Carter's son and doesn't offer any help in any way, but she was arrested in 2023 after a fight with her husband over a remote. So Aaron Carter's story is still one of the biggest examples of Hollywood abuse towards a minor in history, and his parents are definitely to blame for his death. And with that, I'm Charles Pearl. Please subscribe to learn something.